my name is Jess and welcome to my channel Reads with a Ravenclaw. And today I'm going to be bringing you my January wrap up in front of this lovely view of my chairs and a cupboard. Sorry about that, there were limited options considering the natural light available to me on this fine January morning. But yes, I read 5 books in the month of January, which I can't wait to talk to you about, so let's just get in with the wrapping up of reading. The first book I read this month I started in the year that I refused to mention on this channel and finished it in 2017, so I count it as a January read, and that is Brooklyn by Colm Toivin. I'm not sure I've said that right. I seem to remember that the Irish pronounce their B's as V's and their MH's as V's. I don't understand Irish pronunciation, I get really confused by it, but that's what I'm going for Toivin. If you know, let me know if I'm right in the comments. Brooklyn is a historical fiction novel, and it is about a young woman called Ailish Lacey who is from Ireland, and during the 1950s she travels over to Brooklyn to find work. Brooklyn is really about home and what makes a home and who makes a home and how what we constitute as home changes as we grow up, and it was quite an enjoyable read. I read it because I really want to watch the film version with Saoirse Ronan, which looks absolutely incredible, but I haven't watched it yet. I might do a review of it when I do, but I don't really know how to review film, so I barely know how to review books, let's be honest. The themes were definitely the thing that I enjoyed the most about this book. I feel like what makes a home is something that we all have to deal with in our lives. It's a question that we all have to ask ourselves, but it's something that you don't always see represented in literature. Ailish's homesickness broke my heart in this book, and I think something that Colm Toivin does a really good job of is kind of within the narrative being able to show us that without saying the words. So when the book is set in Ireland, it's written very differently and you get the sense of comfort that you don't always get when she's in Brooklyn within the narrative, and I thought that was really interesting and well done by him. Having said that, whilst I enjoyed this book and whilst it was okay, there were bits of it that were just lacking for me, and it's not that I didn't like them because I thought the book was fine, it was just there wasn't enough, it was lacking, and those are the types of reads that really annoy me sometimes. So in terms of the writing style, even though I've mentioned before that I really enjoyed the way that Colm Toivin distinguished place, I didn't like how kind of bare his writing was. It was very simplistic, and I think sometimes that works with books, and I'm not like shouting down simple writing styles, but I just found myself getting bored quite a lot of the time because he was just describing what Ailish was doing, or at least that's how it felt, and I struggled a lot of the time to just carry on reading because I would find myself getting bored quite quickly in a chapter. Also with the characters, I did feel like the characters were well distinguished. I could understand and separate them from each other, but I just wanted a little bit more from characterization. And really of Ailish herself, I understood Ailish's emotions very well. I thought he did an excellent job of bringing them across, but I didn't really understand or know Ailish by the end of this book. So I ended up giving Brooklyn a 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a good read, and I'm still going to watch the film, but it definitely wasn't my favourite book this month. Next up this month I read Blue Lily Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater, which is the 3rd book in the Raven Cycle series. If you don't know what the Raven Cycle series is about, it follows a group of teenagers who are searching for the remains of a dead Welsh king called Glendower, because it's believed that when they find the remains of that dead Welsh king they will be granted a favour, and it's set in Virginia and it's magical and the writing is gorgeous and the characters are gorgeous, and if you haven't picked it up, the first book is called The Raven Boys, and I would go and do that. From all the reviews I've seen of the Raven Cycle, I seem to understand that for most people their favourite book in the series is either The Dream Thieves, which is book 2, or Blue Lily Lily Blue, which is book 3, and as much as I loved Blue Lily Lily Blue, I would say it probably didn't top The Dream Thieves for me, just because Ronan is my favourite. He's my favourite Raven boy along with Adam, and so not getting to see his perspective in Blue Lily Lily Blue broke my little fangirl heart a little bit. Just so that Blue Lily Lily Blue was absolutely amazing nonetheless. I feel like in this book we really got to go even deeper into the characters and get them even more fleshed out, despite the fact that they were incredibly fleshed out over the first 2 books anyway. Maggie Stiefvater's characters just have such a wonderful dynamic, and they feel so strong and real, and they're really well complemented by her kind of magical gothic sort of writing style. Just the combination of her writing and her characters makes her works just a delight to read. I also loved where we went with the plot and the overall plot of searching for Glendower in this book. I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't want to spoil it, but what I really love about the plot of this book is that it's just so unexpected and I don't know where she's going to go, and I think part of that might be the fact that it's dealing with Welsh mythology, and I've just never really been exposed to Welsh mythology before, so it makes it a really interesting reading experience. I'm aware that this review is quite vague, but that's just because I'm saving up all of my very specific comments and thoughts and feelings for the end of the series when I read The Raven King, so I can do a whole series review. But until then, know that I gave this book a 4.75 out of 5 stars, and I loved it. Next up was my favourite book that I read this month, and it was actually a reread, and that is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sainz. Don't really know how to sum up the plot of this book, because it's not really got a plot, and well, it has got a plot, but it's very much a character-driven story. It's set in the 1980s in El Paso in Texas, and it follows a young Mexican-American boy called Ari and his friendship with a boy called Dante over their teenage years. It deals with themes of identity and sexuality and family and just being comfortable in who you are and forgiving yourself and forgiving other people for what they are. It's just a beautiful, beautiful book. I read this for the first time a couple of years ago, but I don't think I was in the right place to read it then. If any of you have seen Ariel Bassett's video about reading a book at the right time, I 100% agree with that idea that sometimes you read books and you're just not in the right mental headspace to read it. And a couple of years ago I definitely wasn't. And when I picked up this book for the second time, it's because I just felt a real urge to read it again, and I feel like I fully managed to appreciate the themes and the characters and just the beauty of this work this time around. Benjamin Alire Sainz's writing style is just absolutely beautiful, because you think you're just reading ordinary prose, it feels very normal, but then he comes up with just these little pearls of writing wizardry, and they are wonderful and they're peppered everywhere, and I just want to go through this page and bookmark every single page, because I can guarantee you there will be a beautiful quote on every single one. I also felt like the characters were really well drawn, and I loved the family dynamics that he included. Aristotle's parents and Dante's parents are hugely integral to the story, and they feel like human beings. They don't feel like they're just there to fill that role of parent. They feel like they're people, and that's something that I feel like a lot of young adult novels don't always do, and I was just delighted when he did it. I also love the theme of everybody having their own war to fight with inside them, and I thought that that was a theme that he dealt with absolutely amazingly, and it was definitely the thing about this book that brought the lump to my throat at the end. It's just beautiful. It is one of the best, if not the best, coming of age stories that I've ever read, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read Landline by Rainbow Rowell. So Landline is the story of Georgie McCall, who is a TV writer that is having some problems in her marriage, and she discovers that the landline within her childhood home can telephone back to the past, and specifically her husband of the past. Which just sounded like such an exciting premise, so I was really excited to pick this one up, and as usual, Rainbow Rowell did not disappoint. I just love Rainbow Rowell's writing style. I don't know what it is, there's just something so unique about the way that she uses third person and the way that she uses language, and it creates this just magnificent writing style that I'm so excited to read every single time I pick up a book of hers. I also really love the way that she creates her characters. I thought that Georgie was a wonderful and very believable and sympathetic narrator, even though she does make some unsympathetic choices. I have got to say, in general, I prefer Rainbow Rowell's young adult novels. I've read both Attachments and Landline, and then on the YA side I read Eleanor and Park and Fangirl, and I just really think that Rainbow Rowell's writing style and characters fit the YA coming of age story so excellently, and she does. I love these books as well, but I do think that the YA just kind of, they're the ones that I enjoyed the most, and if you asked me to pick out my favourite Rainbow Rowell book, it would definitely be one of her 2 YAs. That being said, I did thoroughly enjoy this book. I thought she did a really excellent job with the premise, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And the final book I read this month was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is another really hard book to summarise, because I don't want to give so much away, because it's a very short book. You could easily read it in one sitting, but I will say that it is about a young boy named Connor whose mother is dying of cancer, and one night a monster comes to the window to visit Connor. And I'm aware that that is a very vague and strange, jumpy summary, but that's really all I want to say about this book. It was based on an idea by Siobhan Dowd, who very sadly passed away from cancer, and so Patrick Ness took on the idea and created this from it, and I think it is a beautiful, beautiful story. Again, the writing is beautiful. It reads like a fairy tale or a fable, and when you pair that with some of the really beautiful illustrations that are peppered throughout this book, it just works so incredibly well. I also thought Connor was a hugely sympathetic character, and his story as a a whole just got straight to my heart and made me feel so many things. And this is another book that I gave a 4 out of 5 stars to, and I would fully recommend picking it up, and I cannot wait to watch the movie version of it. So there you have it, that is my January wrap up. If you've read any good books this month, let me know in the comments below, but until then, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.